Thank you for joining us for Jazz Chats with Cool Cats. As always, the program is free, but please consider helping us to support artists and our beloved Carytown Concert House by making a gift at carytownconcerthouse.com/donate. Please enjoy the program.
Yes, sir. All right. All right. Welcome, everybody. Jazz Chats here, Carytown Concert House, with our special guest today. Very happy to bring on board Dr. Alberto Nacif. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me.
It is a real pleasure to share the bandstand with you, for one thing, and I just want people to know who you are and what you've been doing, because you are an angel of many sorts, man, and we are very grateful for the work that you're doing. And so let me get into that. Multifaceted, for sure. But I want to tell everybody that you are a general practitioner and associated with St. Joe's Mercy Hospital,
Yes.
and you have been there for some time. And you have,
30 years. Yeah.
and from March until today, things have been really different. And that was one reason I wanted to celebrate you and your work and kind of let everybody else know that doesn't know about your musicality and your band and all the things that you share with us. We're really grateful that you could join us today, especially during your schedule, you know. So, having said all of that, can you give us a kind of an idea of what's going on in your life and in behind the scenes, because we don't get to see that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if I'm going to talk about anything medical, I'm going to say that I represent so many people that you don't hear about. There are nurses, orderlies, people who clean rooms, people who clean hallways, people who are guards and allow people to come in or keep people out if they're, if they're not wearing their masks, that kind of stuff. And administration, there's a lot of administrators who are really working hard to make this thing as safe and as how can I say, effective for those people that we serve, because that's what we do, we serve. So just saying that since that time, things have turned around. I mean, I didn't work for a few weeks, other than doing some video chats, with patients. Then I worked in urgent care, triaging sick people and sending them to the hospital when they were positive, or letting them know that they should stay home if they were stable. And things sort of got better for a while, but I think they're getting worse again. We're starting to see an uptick, and we are furiously, but calmly, that's kind of an anachronism, I guess, but planning to make this as safe and effective for our patients or for ourselves, because we don't want to take this home to our families, right? So we're wearing masks everywhere. I mean, we're 6 feet apart right now, but in general, I always wear my mask. I wear it all day, and I throw it out when I get home or when I leave for my house. I change scrubs. I go home and change. But it is a very stressful time because what we know about this virus is even though the number of deaths is fairly high for a place as civilized as the U.S., the number of patients that have this, most of them will not die. But there is how can I say it, a little wrench in that, a little monkey wrench in that engine, and that is that sometimes we have people who we don't expect to get sick, who get really sick and die, and then we have other people who we expect are going to get really sick and die, bounce back. And that's sort of the issue, sort of the conundrum. The good thing is that all the fine doctors that are working in intensive care units in small hospitals and in big hospitals now understand a lot more about how this virus behaves. It's relentless, but also how to treat people that get it. The good thing is that most people, if they stay home, if they keep their masks on, if they're not going out very often, if they're washing their hands, if they're keeping social distancing, will do very well. There doesn't need to be any mass hysteria about it. However, that being said, try to always do that when you're out in public. If I go shopping, I don't wear gloves, I don't do all that because this is a virus that you don't spread very well from touching surfaces. If you walk in, like I went shopping yesterday and I walked in and the person that was there so kindly wiped down the cart for me. And they're doing that for everybody. I was wearing my mask. I wore my mask. I shopped. When I got out of the place, I left it, I took my bags, left the cart. My assumption was they're going to take it inside and re-sanitize it. I used some gel in my car, took my mask off, went home. When I got home, I took everything out of the bags. Stuff that didn't need to be in a bag, I took it out and put it in containers. Washing your fruit, because people touch fruit, it's a good thing. So all I say is respect this virus, respect these times. There does not need to be hysteria about it, but respect each other because you're wearing that mask not only for yourself, but for others and for people that you don't even know that you may pass it on to. So, a lot of the docs are getting tested regularly, like weekly. Some don't. Like we're seeing now patients that have had it in March or April, and we're seeing the follow-up. So we are still dressed, to the nines with personal protective equipment. But I have a sense that hopefully we will have a vaccine sometime soon. Hopefully it's a safe and effective vaccine. I trust the FDA. I trust that they're doing the right thing and that they're being very, very careful to not bring out a product that's going to be damaging to people. I'm a positive person, and I believe that all the people that we serve deserve for us to be as educated and as calm about their treatment.
Right. That's fantastic, and gives us a little glimpse of like kind of what is going on in your day to day.
I mean, I'm seeing record number of patients in my office. And they're doing record number of testing in all the IHA and St. Joe's sites. And I'm sure it's like that with every other hospital in any metropolitan area. And, those people work very hard. I know a lot of docs that haven't taken any vacation time or time off. They're getting home, they're getting up the next day and going in. The intensive care unit doctors, the pulmonary docs, they are wonderful. In fact, I talked to one of them today. And, I can't say how thankful I am to them. And I know that a lot of people that they save are also very thankful. So that being said, a prayer to everyone out there that you stay safe. But it's not just in God's hands, it's in your hands. Put on the mask and wash these two suckers.
Fantastic. Well, that is heavy. That is really heavy stuff, and we are in the middle of a pandemic. And once again, on the whole Carytown family, we are really grateful for your ability to help everybody, man. So you're a jazz angel. You're one of those people.
I work at it. I work at it because this is valuable. culture is super important. It's a cohesive force. It's like love, you know? And all of us here in this room that are here playing drums today, you guys love drums. I love drums. That's what brings us together. Along with our humanity, it enhances how we relate to each other. So it's a beautiful thing. And the same thing with the docs and all the people. You know, they all have things that they like. Some of them go horseback riding. Some of them like to travel all over the world. You know, a lot of those people can't do those things. Just like we can't go out and do gigs like we used to.
That's right. And that's one of the reasons why Carytown has stepped up in pivoting, trying to get new things happening. This is what we have now.
Yes.
And so for those of you that are listening at home, we hope that you can support the Concert House in lieu of coming to see a concert here. You might consider a contribution to keep everything vital and up and running. And as you can see how things are virtual, it takes a lot of extra gear that was not here prior to the pandemic. And so there's been a lot of investment and contribution, so we want to draw your attention to that. And so I'm going to continue with that concept of how things are brought together and music and how that is manifested in your life, because you have had a long history with drums, music, and culture. And kind of want to give everybody a glimpse of like how you got into it.
Well, you know, I was one of those odd kids that at the town dances in Ixtepec in Oaxaca, it's a small city in Oaxaca, kind of like a village, but it's now a city, that we'd go to the town dances and all the boys would sort of stand in one side and check out all the girls on the other side, and vice versa. You know, the girls would pretend that they didn't notice the guys and were, you know. I was the guy watching the drummers, man. You know, when they had those bands playing cha-cha-chas and mambos, I was like riveted on that stuff because I was just fascinated with how somebody got sounds out of a drum and how those sounds translated to how I felt. I guess I didn't have words for that then. I just knew that I loved being around drums and hearing those sounds. So I would drive my mom crazy, you know, playing pots and pans and hitting tables and any surface that I could make a sound from. And as I got older and started learning, I learned from somebody there that in retrospect was a really good guy, but a very bad teacher. He didn't know what he was teaching me. But he had a very simple thing that I did learn from him, which was make sure that you're always keeping time. Make sure that that's your job, is to keep time. And I heard that from him, and then many years later, I heard it from one of the greatest drummers that I've ever met, Mr. Armando Peraza, who played with Santana, with George Shearing. He had a history as long as the 20th century, you know. He started playing in the 30s in Havana, and then in the 40s, you know. And he made his mark when he came here. But his thing was that his job as a drummer was to make that person sitting out there want to move, want to dance, and be moved by the music. And you know, he was a great soloist. On top of all that, he was a great human being. He probably could have been a statesman or a great educator because he was so smart, but he chose to play drums.
Let me ask you the story how you met him.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I had recordings with him on it, with Cal Jader, you know, one of my favorite groups from that era. And I had recordings from him playing with other people, but the ones with Cal Jader just blew my mind, always did. That was the best. And I was like a Cal Jader addict. For those of you who don't know, Cal Jader is a vibraphonist from the West Coast. And Cal got into Latin rhythms and, you know, got George Shearing involved. And before you know it, he had his own little group, and Armando Peraza was the conga player, the one token Cuban playing in the band, but he brought that fire. And so at that time, Armando had started playing with Santana. And I liked Santana too because I liked the drums. I liked Chepito Areas and Mingo Lewis and all the other guys that played with him. And Raul Rico later on, and now the current band. I love them. You know, they're all a little different feel. But when Armando was there, he had a very, very almost typical Cuban feel to everything he did. It wasn't just up-tempo. He did some stuff very beautifully, and his phrasing was different than the other drummers of that era. Of course, I was listening to Mongo Santa Maria and other people. So when Santana came to play at Cobo Hall, and that's where I met Armando, came to Cobo Hall, I was playing at a place called the Delta Lady in Ferndale on Woodward with a little group. And so I went to the show, and I sort of stood around in the back to wait for that bus to pull up. And when the bus pulled up, I just ran up to Armando and introduced myself. And he says, "Are you going to see the show tonight?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't have any money for tickets." "Well, I'll give you some passes." He gave me passes. He says, "You know, we're here for 3 or 4 days." I think it was 4 days. And I said, "Okay, well, you know, it's great to know you, man. It's such an honor." He signed a bunch of things. I took a photo with him. And when I see the photo, it's really kind of funny because I'm standing like this, like I'm scared of him, you know. But he was a big deal for me. And literally the next night I was playing at the Delta Lady, and he shows up at the Delta Lady after the gig. I was shocked. He walked in. Here walks in Armando Peraza, and I'm playing congas. And I had my 3 Valjays with me. And Armando, I waved to him, and he says, "I'm coming up." I went, "Okay." So I got out of the way. He got up there, and he just shocked people with how good he was, you know. And we became friends after that. He gave me his phone number. I even stayed in his house in San Francisco while he was touring, because I lived there for about 4 years. So Armando was very special to me. He was, you know, my dad died when I was 7, you know, as a kid. And, you know, I was always thinking of Armando as like a father figure, but also a friend and also a comrade in drums. And so I got to know him. I met a lot of great people as a result of him. But he was a jewel. He was just a wonderful human being. And he passed away April 14th of 2014. And I miss him every day because we used to talk 2 or 3 times a week. So that's, you know.
Beautiful story.
Yeah, I think so. It means a lot to me that you asked that. You know, then I got a chance to go to Cuba. I went to Matanzas, straight to Matanzas. I met the people from Los Muñequitos. They became my friends and teachers. I still have friendships with their grandkids because a lot of the original people that I met have passed on. And it's just an amazing story because what happens is this cultural knowledge is very, very important. It keeps people together. And that's why places like Carytown Concert House are so important for us. You know, you can come here and see a classical piano piece. You can see a Latin jazz band. I know Los Gatos have played here. We've played here. And there are people that, you know, come in and sing, and there's artwork on the walls. That kind of culture brings people together, and that's what this is about. I mean, I tell this to my patients, but I tell this to my friends, and I tell this to my kids a lot. We're only here for a minute. Make that minute really count and make it really special. And that's what I try and do in all the spheres of the things that I do.
Beautiful. And profound. Love it.
Yeah.
So your contribution extends very in many facets. So you started a radio program on WEMU, Cuban Fantasy, which you had for years, actually.
Yeah, I did it for about 10 years. And I just decided to quit, A, because I was really busy with my practice, but B, I missed playing, and I couldn't do the radio show and play. I couldn't stretch myself far enough for that. So I started playing, and you know, the first opportunity was with Paul Vornhagen, with his group Tumbao Bravo, which is a wonderful group. It's still cooking away, but it, of course, like the rest of us, we are all met with the same challenges. Where do we play? How do we present our music? What are the creative outlets for us? And so I was happy when you called me because I would love to play.
Sure. Certainly, of course. So that's one example. You were also on the board of UMS,
Yeah.
and you brought some amazing things to town that really were one-offs that will probably never happen
Well,
again.
yeah.
Sad to say, but that was really an amazing time.
It was, and you know what? Ken Fisher and Michael Konjolka and all the folks there are so open-minded to anything as long as it's good. If it's not good, they're not going to take it. I don't care what kind of name you have. If you're not good, if you're difficult to work with, that's not the place to go. But everybody that goes there is passionate about their craft, about their art. And we had Celia Cruz, Cubanismo. We did a Latin jazz show. Eddie Palmieri. We did Los Muñequitos de Matanzas actually played there. They had Tito Puente multiple times. They had Jerry Gonzalez, Fort Apache. Just amazing times. And most of those people are gone now. And to have seen them live and rub shoulders with them was very special.
Right. Especially, I mean, you see the concert, and these guys are working musicians, but now, in retrospect, that they're gone, it's like those times were really fantastic.
Yes.
So let's talk about your musical output now, because you are leading a band called Aguanco.
Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about this project?
Well, it's a Latin jazz septet, and I invented the name from the words. I wanted to have a cool name and not sound like anything else. So, every time I looked up certain names that I thought of, I would look on Google, and there weren't like 5 people had those names. So I wrote a list of all the things that I liked, and in Spanish and in English. So I liked Aguanco, which is something we just played. I liked water. I love water. I love swimming. I love rain. I just love water. So I thought, why don't I combine the names? But I had a list. I'm talking like 20 things on each side in Spanish and English. So I combined the name Agua and Aguanco into Aguanco. So then I went to Google with some trepidation and put that in. And guess what? It didn't exist. So I immediately coined it, copped it for myself, and the rest is history. So we have a very nice septet. It's original Latin jazz. We do play covers occasionally, particularly if we have subs that don't know our music very well. We want to sound good, so we use covers then. But most of the time, I really prefer to play our original music, stuff that I've written over the years.
So let's talk about your composing, because I mean, this is another branch of like what you love. And what is your process of composition?
It's funny you should say that. On my phone, I have about 400 different little musical ideas that I just sing into the phone, okay? I sing them into the phone, and then I play with them a little bit. And then occasionally I wake up in the middle of the night with the whole tune in my head, just how it's going to go, how the breaks are going to go, what the second part's going to be, A section, B section. It's crazy. And then I get up, and my wife thinks I'm crazy because I get up at 3 in the morning, I go in the room, I start putting everything together, then I go back to sleep, and then I'm tired in the morning, but energized, because now I have a new tune. And even during the pandemic, I have enough music right now for another album. And we have 4 albums as a group. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
That's my process.
That's a lot. You have
and I do have a muse, which is my wife. A lot of times she does funny things or cute things that I sort of attach some musical notes to. Like the time we were in Mackinac Island, and she was riding the bike and crashed into the bushes, and she made a sound, and then hit the bushes. I heard her crash, and there she was. So I went back, helped her up, and then I used those 3 notes to create a tune called La Bicicleta, which is our first album. So that's kind of my process.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Love that. Fascinating story. Well, we're going to bring on some other guys, and we're going to wrap this up because Jazz Chats is just that.
Yes,
we're going to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I am really grateful that you are able to join us today.
Thank you,
really
Pete.
Great. And hopefully you will be now introduced to people that weren't aware of you and your music before, and they'll come out and check out Aguanco.
That would be wonderful. That would be
so,
wonderful.
I want to bring out my friends here. I'd like to introduce these guys, and we're going to wrap it up. Matt Bell is going to be playing segundo. We have Owl de Blasio is going to play quinto. And we have Sonny D. Domenico is going to play tumba, and we are going to play Aguanco for you. And Al, if you could just talk briefly about the Cuban street music and what the basis of this is.
So, you know, when people hear about Cuban music, they generally think of dance music. They hear of mambo, cha-cha-cha, et cetera, et cetera. But there's other spheres of music. There is the music of the streets, which is the rumba. And the rumba is a family of rhythms that is generally just, at minimum, just done with voices and a drum. But traditionally, it's done with 3 drums, sometimes with boxes like these, cajones, and claves and more singers. And it's got the very African feature of call and response. So as the drummers are playing and the singers are singing, people answer back and forth. There's a call and response both between the drummers and between the drummers and the singers, because the quinto player will play along with the singers and then play along with the dancers when the part of the rumba is where they're dancing. And then there's also call and response between the audience and the group. So the rumba is a very, very beautiful, high-level art form that takes a lot of years to master. I'm still working at it. I'm still a student, and I think I will always be a student, just like I am of medicine, you know? So, yeah.
All right, fantastic. Here we go, cats.
Thank you for joining us for Jazz Chats with Cool Cats. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter on our website to hear about upcoming programming and subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about future videos and live streams. Have a good evening.